Hi, my name is Goldie Jones, and I am a writer, director, creative director. And what you're about to listen to is a small highlight from my podcast, the Glitch Gestalt podcast. If you like what you hear, you can access the full podcast over on my Patreon page, which I will leave a link to in the description below. And if you want to support the podcast or me as a filmmaker, feel free to join the Patreon family over there and get access to a bunch of other offers and content relating to screenwriting and filmmaking, in addition to getting access to the full podcast. So, without further ado, enjoy.
No, it's just not a lot. Like, I have to go and hunt down horror usually. I have to go on. I go online to like Rotten Tomatoes and see what's coming out. Because I don't usually get it advertised to me anymore. I don't watch commercials or anything. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's like current horror, most of what I'm thinking of is like Jordan Peele, the guy
yeah,
who did Hereditary and Midsummer. So I think there is definitely a growing market for kind of a new renaissance of horror that I'm seeing.
I like that. Ooh, excuse me. I'm
And
sorry.
I think
Yeah.
we're probably going to see an emergence of more horror in response to our current situation. I think in the next two to
I want some
five
new
years, you'll
stories.
probably see some new horror.
I could definitely go in for some new stories, something new. So
Mhm.
I have a hard time with like, oh man, there's this like great golden age of horror, and I haven't really seen it in a long time. There's like good movies that come out, but I don't see like this whole new like genre smashing things that happen.
Yeah.
like,
Well, and I mean, like the sci-fi horror of Prometheus and Covenant, Raised by Wolves. Like Prometheus and Covenant didn't do great, but people seem to have responded pretty positively to Raised by Wolves, which
yeah,
kind of surprises me when it's so much in the same vein as
yeah,
Prometheus and Covenant.
it is, but it's I think it's done a little bit better, or maybe it's just a little clearer on what it's doing, or maybe there's
Oh,
just not so much.
I
Oh,
have thoughts about
I was
Raised by
just
Wolves.
I was just gonna say maybe it's because it doesn't have that stigma of being like an alien movie, even though it like seems like it's totally in that universe. Like,
Yeah, Raised by Wolves
because
is definitely, it doesn't have that like preconceptions of what you're going in for,
right,
because
because I
it's
was
not attached to an existing franchise. So it has a little bit more freedom to play and a little bit more freedom to dive into that, ancient aliens
right.
mythos without betraying the aliens mythos.
Because that's what we really want. It's just we were talking about that earlier. Just more alien, like another aliens movie. Come on, like
Yeah,
put them on another planet with some colonists. Like, let's go.
yeah, yeah. I definitely have plenty of thoughts about Raised by Wolves. I didn't love it, and it for a lot of the same reasons that I didn't love Prometheus or Covenant. I
Mhm.
think in his old age, Ridley Scott has gotten to a point where he wants to make really cerebral sci-fi without really being, not to be rude, smart enough to pull it off well. Like Denis Villeneuve pulls off cerebral sci-fi beautifully. Arrival,
Mhm.
the new Blade Runner, so freaking good. And not to say that Ridley Scott hasn't been able to do it. Like he did the original Blade Runner, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I mean, I know he is capable of it. I think it's just this like poisoning of his work with the whole ancient aliens
I mean,
stuff.
yeah. Look what happened to Lucas. Lucas did the same thing. He
Yeah.
completely just like trashed his own legacy when he's just I'm gonna go back and fuck with Star Wars.
Just
Like,
retcon the
yeah,
mythology.
why?
Why midichlorians?
And like, why go back and add scenes and take things out and like
Mhm.
of 30-year-old movies, dude? Who cares?
Why get
Like,
into the whole weirdness of like virgin pregnancy? You know,
oh, the Immaculate Conception crap.
exactly. Thank you. I couldn't remember that exact phrase, but yeah, that exactly.
But maybe, yeah. See, you just sit at the top so long. Maybe you're like, this is gold. I don't care what you say, and like, don't listen to anybody anymore. Like,
Yeah,
because I know Scott, he's done great things. Like,
yeah. I
and
mean, I love Blade Runner. It is does have some problematic rapey issues in that movie. That was definitely a
yeah,
an issue of its time that has not aged well. Thankfully, that
yeah,
specific issue hasn't aged well. I would be more concerned if people still saw that as not problematic than the fact
Right.
that people are seeing it as problematic.
That
But
is one thing with like somebody like me who loves older horror movies. Like I will hear and see things and be all like, oh
well, I
no,
mean,
no.
I kind of had this conversation with someone talking about the fact that like there is a difference between seeing. We were specifically talking about the Aliens movies, about seeing the Aliens movies when they were originally made in that particular social and political setting in which
Right.
they were created versus watching them later in the 90s when it's like
Right.
been removed from the environment that created it. So there is definitely something to be said of watching something with the context in mind and also watching something within a current context and how that impacts the reading of that particular story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some things just don't age. Like, yeah, yeah. It's just different. It's just different. It wasn't cool then, but it's what was on TV, right? So
Yeah. But yeah, the end of the Raised by Wolves, like I was interested in it initially. It's an interesting concept. The actors are great.
they're really
Um,
good.
but I was very baffled as to why these two androids that were supposed to be raising these kids to be atheistic would even mention that religion existed. Why even present that as an option if your programming is telling you to create an atheistic society? I
I mean,
mean,
you
were
gotta
they
have the
just
other.
were they just trying to teach the history of humanity and how they ended up there? Is that why
Well, they
they
were.
brought it up at all?
It, it could be, or like they're creating like the other, the enemy, like instilling in them early that. Because yeah,
Religious
I'd say
fanatics are bad.
right. I
Religion is
got to say
bad.
same thoughts too. Like why not just keep the children ignorant of it? You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about it, right? You live on this weird unoccupied planet.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it would be interesting to see if they came up with it on their own if it had never been introduced to them by a
yeah,
previous generation. Um,
it would be because it seems like in our own history, like we obviously invented religion, but we did it for these reasons that were like
mhm,
universal. Like all of our different like cross cultures invented some type of like religions and burial
mhm.
ceremonies and
And
things around that.
would we still create religion
Yeah,
when we already have like science and technology and medicine?
that's a good question because if we can already meet our needs through science and explain things through science, do we need religion to like prop that up?
Yeah.
That's a really good question, actually. Damn.
That would be something I would love to see explored in a show.
Yeah, right.
Ridley.
Yeah, dude, come on.
I just don't care about the ancient aliens thing and it's like the devolving humans on the planet.
Yeah, I'm not quite understanding that bit in Raised by Wolves yet. I'm all,
I mean, it's all
what's going on?
setting up stuff for the second season and left so
Yeah,
many dangling threads on the first season. And like, you clearly have the creatures that they were eating that they assumed were just animals to be eaten. And then you have the less devolved humans that tried to kill Mother to try to like destroy the flying penis snake that she birthed with
right.
the vagina mouth. Because
What?
yeah,
Yeah,
remember what
that,
I
that.
was saying about sexuality and horror going hand in hand?
Yes, that was weird. That whole
Yeah.
that whole thing with her pregnancy and being pregnant by the planet was just it was weird.
Well, I don't know that the planet impregnated
Or
her. I think there's some kind of cult and this is some kind of alien creature and there's something that is bad for the baby on the other side of the planet. So the fact that the giant penis flying snake ended up on the other side of the planet, like it's in danger now. Like what's on the other side of the planet? Why
it's
did
supposed to
they
be the
land on the barren side of the planet in the first place? Why did they just stay there?
yeah. I was curious about that too. Why they didn't just go to the tropical zone in the first place?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
supposedly the android's ship just crashed there, but why were they not awake for the landing?
oh
Like,
no, because it did crash. That was like the opening scene of like them
yeah,
crashing into the planet. Hmm.
um, yeah.
No.
Just there are logical issues that don't really make sense, and I would love to see So the guy from Vikings that plays the atheist guy pretending to be
Yeah.
the captain. I love that actor, but I would love to see him play somebody who doesn't go insane. Like
I mean,
I loved his character and his dynamic with his wife and the fact that they're hiding who they are. Like they didn't. There was no reason to throw in this whole extra like, oh, I'm crazy now. To the
yeah, and
extent that they did,
he plays a good crazy. He's got good shifty eyes,
he
but
really does. But he's got more range than that.
yeah, I mean, the only other thing I've seen him in, unfortunately, is like the World of Warcraft travesty movie.
Oh,
Like, I mean, I watched that on an airplane, and I was so sad.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's a thing. It was bad.
Oh,
Don't watch it.
I won't.
But he played. He was one of the lead humans in that movie.
Gotcha. He's a great actor. Like the cast is so good. I don't love the kid who plays Campion, but
Me either. Actually, I'm not a big fan of him in the show so far.
yeah, but I have no complaints about any of the rest of the cast. Like
It could just be
great.
Campion's writing. I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, the rest of the cast is fine. Like
even the other like Paul, the other kid who's Campion's age.
which one's the chosen one?
It's totally Paul.
I hope so too.
I'm voting for Paul. But I am here's my theory that we'll have to see in the next season if it plays out. I think someone planted a virus in the shared simulation, and that's why the Mithraics are going crazy. And this whatever virus in the simulation is what impregnated the android.
That would be pretty cool. And also, like, it's grandiose enough to be Ridley, like this bigger plot of this other entity that we haven't ran into yet, or whatever.
Yeah, and maybe it is a sentient AI virus in there that's just, or did the atheist plant it in there, or is this like the natural? Because they, in one of the later episodes, when she's talking to the doctor android, it's talking about the fact that the Mithraics didn't actually understand the technology that they made. It was passed down through the scriptures. Like, is this virus in their shared simulation something written into the code from their scriptures that like?
It's very Dead Space.
Yeah. So that's my theory. That something in the scriptures created this virus within their shared simulation, and that's what's making them all go crazy.
I definitely wouldn't rule it out. Like, definitely wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah. That's my theory.